Hello everyone, welcome to this series on the history of English literature, and in this video we are going to discuss literary features of the Middle English period. Introduction. The Middle English period stands as a pivotal era in the history of English literature, marked by significant transitions and innovations. This period, which roughly spans from the late 11th century to the late 15th century, is notable for its diverse and experimental literary output, the dominance of poetry, and the gradual development of a standardized English language. This video explores the key literary features of the Middle English period, highlighting the importance of transition, anonymous authorship, the prevalence of poetry, significant prose works, the influence of oral tradition, and the emergence of a standard dialect. Transition and experimentation. The Middle English period is characterized by its transitional nature and a spirit of experimentation. During this time, poets and writers were exploring new forms and influences, drawing heavily from French and Latin works, while also continuing traditions from the Old English period. This blend of influences is evident in works such as Lyman's Brut, which demonstrates the ongoing impact of Old English poetic models. The period's literature reflects a dynamic interplay between past traditions and new emerging forms. Anonymous authorship. A striking feature of Middle English literature is the high prevalence of anonymous works. Many texts from this period lack known authors, and even when names are attached, they often provide little more than a label with scant biographical information. This anonymity reflects the collective nature of literary creation at the time, where the focus was more on the work itself than on individual authorship. This collective authorship often emphasized communal values and shared cultural narratives. Domination of poetry. Poetry was the dominant literary form during the Middle English period, used not only for artistic expression but also for conveying history, divinity, and scientific knowledge. Many authors of the period were clerics who utilized poetry to engage with a wide range of subjects. This widespread use of poetry can be attributed to its mnemonic qualities, making it easier to memorize and transmit orally. Consequently, the amount of prose literature from this period appears relatively small in comparison. Prose works. Despite the dominance of poetry, the Middle English period also produced significant prose works. Notable examples include the Catherine Group and the Ancrine Rieule, which are distinguished by their individual styles and homiletic nature. These works, though often translations, exhibit a degree of creativity and independence, reflecting the efforts of authors to make religious and moral teachings accessible to a broader audience. Latin remained the primary language for official documents and scholarly texts, contributing to the relative scarcity of Middle English prose. Oral tradition and alliterative poetry. Oral tradition played a crucial role in preserving and transmitting poetic forms during the Middle English period. The period saw the resurgence of alliterative poetry, particularly in the 14th century, with poets from the western regions of England. This form of poetry, which relies on the repetition of initial consonant sounds, harks back to Old English poetic structures and stands in contrast to the more syllabic and rhymed forms influenced by French and Latin literature. Influence of language. The development of Middle English was significantly influenced by the gradual weakening of the inflectional system that characterized Old English. The language also absorbed a substantial number of loan words from Scandinavian and French, reflecting the historical contexts of Viking invasions and Norman conquest. The period's linguistic landscape was marked by the emergence of distinct dialects, including Northern, East Midlands, West Midlands, Southeastern, and Southwestern, each contributing to the rich tapestry of Middle English literature. Emergence of Standard English. A crucial development during the Middle English period was the gradual emergence of a Standard English dialect, which would eventually become the received Standard English of today. This standardization process was significantly influenced by the East Midland dialect, due in part to the socio-political importance of the region and the centrality of London. The capital's growing prominence as a cultural and administrative hub played a crucial role in shaping the linguistic norms that would define modern English. Conclusion. The Middle English period is a fascinating era of literary history, marked by a rich interplay of tradition and innovation. The period's literature reflects a society in transition, experimenting with new forms and influences while maintaining connections to its past. The dominance of poetry, the significant prose works, the role of oral tradition, and the gradual emergence of a standard dialect all contribute to the period's lasting legacy. The literary features of the Middle English period not only highlight the dynamic nature of English literature, but also underscored the complex cultural and linguistic transformations that have shaped the English language as we know it today. The discussion on the literary features of the Middle English period. We will meet in the next video and discuss some other topic. Until then, goodbye and thank you.